What's up guys, Matthew Nash here. Today we're going to go over a stage that I shot on last week's local match, and in doing so we're going to highlight some of the online coaching ability that we offer at www.MNShooting.com. If you guys are in the need to kind of have a stage or match reviewed or analyzed for shooting or training tips to help you guys with your match performance, please give us a shout and we'll definitely help your shooting needs. Highlighting some things that I think about when I come up to a stage is the first, if there's already a squad on the stage, take note of how they're shooting it and see where some of their shortfalls are so you don't repeat them. See what targets are giving people difficulty and take advantage of that. You can kind of see the momentum of a stage, how it unfolds and so forth. Second, when you first get on the stage, the first thing I like to know is the round count, and I like to identify where all the targets are. On this particular stage, we had pretty much two sections. We had a downrange section and an uprange section. So coming into this, it was an unloaded start. I noticed that there were more targets than I could achieve with one magazine very quickly, and I was focused on these partials. I wanted to execute these partials with lower risk and in an efficient manner, and my first choice I had to make was, do I do one or two positions? Originally I was thinking about going to position number one. I didn't like that I had to shoot those on a lean, but they were much easier shots than shooting those partials uprange. So the second thing I like to do when doing your walkthroughs is watch the open and limited shooters. I usually like to watch them because they usually identify the most efficient stage plan. It might not always be ideal to low cap people, but they will identify good shooting positions and efficient plan. And in doing so on this particular stage, I noticed that these partials were available from over here. Anytime you have the ability to combine two positions into one, it's usually going to be more efficient. So this pretty much solidified my stage plan, as I was going to shoot these 5 targets from this position. This gave me very good distance to achieve an unloaded start. I had a really good entry coming in on this right target over here, and those partials were not very challenging given the distance, but they also were stacked up very close by each other from that angle of position 1 to allow for very efficient transitions. So that ended up being my first position. And starting off, you can see I'm already doing 3 things simultaneously. I'm reaching for a rear mag because why not? Why not keep those front mag pouches? It's not necessary if you practice your reloads like you should, but I wanted to take that little bit of advantage, especially being early in the year. I'm reaching for the gun with an elbow driving back, and I have my lead foot heading in the direction that I want to go. All right, this is always a good thing. Most efficient method that I learned from Mason Lane. It's more efficient than crossing over with that left foot, because if I do, that left foot will probably make it to right there. My weight will still be center line, and as you can see, I have gained no distance on getting over to position number 1. Versus if I take this lead foot and I drive out, I get my momentum going by getting my weight going to the right. I also drive that foot, which I'll probably get it out to here. So I'm taking a step and gaining distance while I'm getting that momentum going. And it turns out to be the most efficient way to get out of a position. So let's kind of see how this first sequence unloaded. So the first thing I noticed in analyzing my video is I was very conservative with that unloaded start. I did tell myself mentally that I had time, just get the mag in, get a good grip. I think I was just a little too conservative because, as you can see, I should already be addressing this target, and I definitely had aptitudes or space to achieve that unloaded start. All right, coming into position here. As you can see, I'm still coming in position. I was able to get that first shot off, and now I'm transitioning as I finish that position. And what I wanted to achieve is a perfect shooting position while I engage that second target. All right, and some things we're looking for in that shooting position: 45-degree angle feet, They're under my shoulders or wider, as Casey would say. My hips are square, my head is up, my shoulders are relaxed. I'm able to put shots down with knees bent, managing that recoil and being able to get out of that position very efficiently. So a lot of good things. We won't go over all the shooting position details right now, but I want that good foundation for addressing that second target. All right, just good transitions here. A little conservative on those partials. They were available uprange, so even though I'm going to 10 rounds here, my goal here was just to get all alphas. I think in my head I learned this from Ron Francisco, or at least Megan Francisco, is I'm telling myself alpha, alpha, alpha to really stay focused. And one thing to note on this sequence is I paid special attention to this upside down target. Something I learned from Kim. Usually in my last walkthrough or last two, I like to come in a position not really focused on the position itself, but really focused on where my eyes need to drive on each target. All right, and in doing so, I knew that my eyes had to drive down on this one. While I was pacing, I noticed people were bleeding easy Charlies here. I call those unforced airs in a stage, because that anybody can shoot those alphas right there. But what tends to get people going is in this sequence, they're trying to focus on transitions and they don't remember because they never really focused on the specific spots on the target. And therefore they throw Charlie's high on this target into the belly of that upside down. So just keep that in mind. On my last walkthrough, I always like to just kind of carefully go through, usually cupping my thumbs, making like a rear sight notch, and visualizing what my sights are going to be and where I want my eyes to drive. And that also helped me with these partials. And one thing I liked was, on this sequence, is this target elevated my transition, so I aimed even higher in the A zone here, so I had less movement on those transitions. So just little finer points like that, those all add up in a stage to help produce a very efficient time. So very dynamic moving, getting out. I won't go over all the details here, but again, using that Mason Lane and others' discipline of driving that lead foot to help me get out of that position and get my momentum going. I'm also grabbing for another rear pouch, which will set me up for a first pouch reload, a speed reload on that last position. All right, coming into position. Anytime you guys have barriers where you can see the target, take advantage of that. I already know where my plant foot's going to be, which makes my second foot come into that corner on the fault line very easy. I also had the fault line for some feedback. I have no reason to have to look at where my feet need to go once I identify this plant area. So now my vision can be on that target. Now normally my gun would be up, but obviously I'm dealing with the 180-degree marker here for safety. So my gun comes up as that 180 starts to expand, and I don't risk getting DQ'd there. But my vision's still on target, so I can aggressively shoot that target coming into position quicker. Now one thing to note here is you can see I planted that foot. I can feel that fault line. I know I'm in position. This wall forced my weight to the right a little bit further, right? So a couple things. I couldn't control that. Even standing in this position, my weight was going to be leaning to the right. But if I didn't have that wall there and my weight went to the right, something I look for in videos, I probably didn't bleed enough speed coming into that position. Now, some people may be more athletic, like JJ Racaza or Eric Raffel, and they can absorb that and get their hips low to absorb that entry momentum. But normally I like to bleed some speed. I feel like it can be repeated and I can get more effective hits because I'm shooting iron sights and those points matter. So I usually like bleeding the speed. Every now and then it may call for you to drop those hips. In this particular case, I'm trying to do that. But another thing is that weight transfer kept my drag foot heel up, so I wasn't able to bleed as much momentum. So I worked on this a couple times on this particular entry in my walkthrough because of how complicated it was. But as you can see, I'm going to drive this foot to set me up for the second target into another good shooting position by the time I'm finished with that first target. So just like the first position, by the time I'm done with that first target, I am now in a good shooting position, knees bent, feet are 45, under the shoulders, my upper part is relaxed with a good grip, elbows are slightly bent, my head is up. I'm able also to drive out of this position very effectively with that lead foot afterwards. All right, I probably could have got a little more distance on that lead foot, which we'll see here in a second. Probably some of that is because of how this dry foot is positioned on the fault line. But I wanted a good shooting position here, and something to note, this was probably the hardest target out here. This is where I see people struggling, and a lot of times it's because somewhere in the beginning of the stage, mentally, they either fumbled or didn't get as efficient, or they just feel the need to finish strong, kind of like a race, and you feel the need to sprint. I feel a lot of that is due to bad habits in practice. I see a lot of shooters in practice, they don't follow through when something doesn't go right. So they're working a reload 2 drill, they fumble the reload, they just stop. And they put the mag back in their pouch because they fumbled the reload and they start over again, right? While I believe that helps your self-image if you don't really focus on working through those problems, but it also doesn't allow you to create a mindset for working through those challenges. So your adversity suffers. So I did get good shots here, but as you can see, I fumbled the reload on this position. And after that, what it allowed me to do was just fix the problem, get an efficient reload after I missed it, and get good effective hits on all those other targets. I didn't speed up, and we'll kind of show that here in a second. But I gave special attention to this particular target because I felt people wanted to exit early. And therefore, there was a high risk here because, as you can see, that wall closed it up. So if you start to exit out of this position, you have to come all the way back to re-engage that target. So I just wanted 2 good shots, again, simplifying that array, and then getting out of position. So as you can see there, this was my mistake, and this is why I didn't hit the reload. And it's something I learned from Kim, but obviously I mentally did not do it. But usually in one of my walkthroughs, usually the second or third walkthrough, once I identify my positions and kind of know how I'm going to get in and out, is Wansa Kim will actually physically go to each mag pouch at each position. All right. And as you can see, I'm reaching for a back mag pouch there, which is not the right spot. I did everything right to give myself a first pouch reload, but what I didn't do is ingrain in my head which pouch I'm going to. All right, so that was a mental error, something I can fix very easily, but something I learned from Kim is I don't just make the motion of hitting a reload, I actually take my hand and I touch the magazine in my walkthroughs for each pouch, and that's something I didn't do here, probably forcing that error. Another unforced error, mentally could have been prevented. All right, so you can see I missed it there, but I keep my eyes down, now my head's up. One thing, I'm keeping the gun up. Now the targets are low, so the gun's up for those targets, which helps with the very fast presentation. But what I'm proud of is my mindset didn't change here. All right, as you can see, I still get my hits, and that's because I work these fumbled reloads and things like that. I see them through in practice, and I keep a calm mind, and I just then take the next objective and achieve it as if that error didn't even happen. So work through some of those errors and build some adversity in your training, and you'll be able to achieve and overcome those issues and not compound errors in your match. And then here, because of the first array, I was able to set myself up with 3 easy targets. Now I do have the extra shot here because of the way the middle array went. All right. And I was able to, I think, get all alphas here. That right side target, I may have bled 1 Charlie there. That wall wasn't as bad, but it did add some pressure, and I think I may have put 1 Charlie there. I did have 2 Charlies on this stage. All right, but I was pretty happy going 22 alphas. All right, that's it. And then to finish the stage, walk through and look at your targets. Now is not the time necessarily in a major match, maybe a local match, it's okay, but take some notes and record some things you need to work on. If you're pulling off, if you're not getting your hits, you can make those subtle changes in a match. But at local matches, I like to take notes. Something I learned from David Murphy. He's a shooter that I shoot with quite regularly, and he'll take notes, and that helps so you to be very efficient and address those inefficiencies or challenges in your skills in practice, and you don't forget about them. So make those mental notes. Don't just kind of walk back. Don't just kind of think about the big picture, but go back and look at each target, think about what you could do, and then as you're pacing and watching other shooters, see if there were lessons that you could have learned to improve that stage even after the fact. So Hope this helps you guys out. If you guys are looking for some stage reviews, match reviews, I definitely will provide guidance. Please like, subscribe if you appreciate content like this. I will maybe put up some more stage analysis if you guys like this enough. I appreciate anyone that comments below if you saw something I need to work on. I'm always a student of the game, and I think the best instructors always are. So hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are getting out and shooting. Be safe, be well. Hope to see you guys on the range this year.